No matter how hard you work or your effort, it's never enough. Are your achievements unrecognized, or are they met with indifference from the world? If so, then you need to hear the incredible story of Belisarius. Have you ever come across the name? Perhaps not. One of the greatest military generals who ever lived. A man who saved entire civilizations through his brilliance and bravery on the battlefield. Yet, instead of being celebrated as a hero, he was treated with ingratitude and injustice, and robbed of all his honors. Most people would be devastated and give up in the face of such mistreatment, but not Belisarius. By embodying the ancient philosophy of Stoicism, he found an unshakable inner strength that allowed him to endure any failure or adversity life threw his way. In this prolonged video, you'll learn how to cultivate the same Stoic mindset Belisarius used over 1,500 years ago. A mindset that will help you achieve profound resilience, motivation, and self-respect, all by realizing that simply doing the work is always enough. The Stoic general Belisarius. Belisarius was undeniably one of the most accomplished military leaders of the 6th century. His incredible narrative imparts profound life lessons centered around the ancient philosophy of Stoicism. Belisarius had the honor of serving under the esteemed Byzantine Emperor Justinian. Despite achieving remarkable triumphs at locations such as Dara, Carthage, Naples, Sicily, and even reclaiming the city of Rome itself, all before reaching 40, his fame and recognition did not match the magnitude of his accomplishments. Instead, Belisarius endured ungratefulness and awful mistreatment from the very emperor he served with unwavering loyalty. The emperor's misguided political decisions undermined the remarkable accomplishments of Belisarius. He continuously made false accusations against the general. Belisarius faced a series of unfortunate events that left him without wealth, titles, and even sight, forcing him to rely on begging to make ends meet. Imagine that. From saving entire civilizations through your remarkable military successes to finding yourself homeless and begging for food, your journey is captivating and inspiring. It appears to be unjust and chaotic. Throughout the ages, historians have passionately debated the unfairness and foolishness that Belisarius encountered. Surprisingly, Belisarius never complained despite the challenges he faced. Never. Belisarius deeply understood a fundamental principle from Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. It's important to distinguish between the aspects of life within your control and those not. Belisarius, a remarkable general, possessed relentless control over his actions, effort, bravery, and commitment to his duty on the battlefield. However, he had no control over whether the emperor would reward or punish him for his service. The Stoics emphasized that we cannot control external factors such as rewards, recognition, and circumstances. Our suffering and disappointment are often a result of our judgments, cravings, and desires. While it is natural to desire validation, appreciation, and rewards for our efforts, the Stoics warned against allowing our ego to become consumed by this desire, which can lead to destructive consequences. For a deeper understanding of the Stoic mindset, reflect on this powerful quote by the renowned Stoic philosopher Epictetus. What disturbs individuals is not the actual circumstances, but rather their interpretations of those circumstances. Belisarius recognized that he had control over his courage, integrity, and actions. Still, he also understood that he couldn't control how others perceived or rewarded him for those actions. He remained determined and dedicated to making a difference through his actions and determination. The Stoics did not promote apathy or a lack of ambition, not even close. They inspired a relentless pursuit of greatness, fueling ambition and unwavering resolve. However, they consistently emphasized the importance of staying detached from the final result. Regardless of the outcome, victory or defeat, wealth or poverty, fame or anonymity, a Stoic remains steadfast in their pursuit of inner peace. It is truly empowering to free oneself from the influence of external factors on one's self-worth. It liberates you from the never-ending pursuit of validation, admiration, or recognition from others. Instead of relying on the ever-changing judgments of others for your happiness, the Stoics encourage directing your energy towards personal growth, developing wisdom, self-discipline, and virtues such as courage, justice, temperance, and moderation. The tale of Belisarius is a remarkable testament to the profound impact of Stoic philosophy. Belisarius remained unwavering in his loyalty, even in the face of the emperor's betrayal. He truly embraced the profound wisdom of Stoic philosophy, recognizing that the universe is in a constant state of flux and that our perception and mindset shape our entire existence. For the Stoics, embracing this mindset of detachment and directing your attention towards what you can control is not about suppressing your emotions. Instead, it's about cultivating a perspective that empowers and shields you from setbacks and challenges. Despite facing immense adversity and losing almost everything, Belisarius's unconquerable spirit never wavered. He displayed the Stoic virtues of courage, resilience, and self-mastery in the face of immense hardship. Stoicism can be seen as a powerful method for developing personal survival skills and building resilience. We create a solid inner sanctuary when we learn to detach our self-worth, identity, and sense of purpose from external events. We no longer allow ourselves to be swayed by the unpredictable currents of approval or criticism, triumph or defeat. We can confront life's most challenging trials with inner composure. The philosophy encourages us to focus on what is within our control, our thoughts, attitudes, and actions, rather than expending energy on things beyond our influence. By doing so, we cultivate a sense of personal agency and empowerment, no longer tossed about by the whims of fortune or the opinions of others. Stoicism does not advocate a life of emotional suppression or resignation. Instead, it teaches us to fully embrace the present moment, accepting what we cannot change while channeling our energy into what we can control. This allows us to experience life with greater clarity, presence, and serenity, even amidst stormy circumstances. Belisarius's story is truly compelling and inspiring. It is impossible not to feel sympathy for him as he faces unjust persecution. However, what truly stands out is his quiet and dignified acceptance in the face of such ingratitude. It is in this acceptance that his most significant victory lies. With the wisdom of Stoicism, he attained an unwavering sense of freedom, rising above the unpredictable whims of fate to live a life of steadfast integrity until the very end. Belisarius's example reminds us of the enduring power of inner fortitude and self-mastery in a world that often glorifies external success and material rewards. He embodied the Stoic ideal of living in accordance with virtue and reason, regardless of one's circumstances. His legacy is a timeless inspiration for anyone seeking to develop resilience, serenity, and a life of meaning amidst life's inevitable challenges and adversities. By studying the teachings of Stoicism and the extraordinary life of Belisarius, we can all learn to embrace a sense of acceptance and inner peace, even in the face of life's most daunting trials. This philosophy empowers us to focus on what truly matters: our character, principles, and ability to face each moment with dignity and grace. In doing so, we too can attain the unshakable freedom that Belisarius embodied, rising above the chaos of external events to live a life of purpose and authenticity. The pitfalls of ego. The ego breeds expectations that the universe cannot match, leading to resentment, anger, and unhappiness. We've all felt that sting when we've poured our heart into something, a project, piece of art, anything, only to have it ignored, criticized, or disrespected by others. It's a brutal gut punch. In those moments, that little voice of ego whispers, "Screw them if they don't appreciate you and your efforts." We consider giving up and withholding our work and talent from a world that seems ungrateful. But Belisarius avoided this ego trap completely. Rather than seeking fame, glory, or the world's rewards, Belisarius found complete sufficiency and fulfillment in his duty to the best of his ability. Serving his principles, code, and society was all that mattered, not public celebrations or recognition. He needn't crave accolades, for his self-respect internally validated him. This mirrors a core teaching of Stoicism, that the goal of our efforts shouldn't be external rewards, but rather the flourishing of our virtue and character. The Stoics called this concept eudaimonia, a sense of self-satisfaction that comes from living with courage, justice, wisdom, and temperance. It's the same advice the legendary coach John Wooden gave his players. Success is peace of mind, which is a direct result of self-satisfaction in knowing you made the effort to become the best you are capable of becoming. Like the Stoic sages, Belisarius derived his sense of pride and self-worth solely from the intentions and actions within his control. Though rewards, gratitude, and victory eluded him, he could conclude with composure, "This too I can bear. I still am Belisarius." Imagine having that kind of unshakable inner strength and resolve. No matter what ingratitude, failures, or setbacks life threw at Belisarius, his sense of self was kryptonite. He would not be moved, angered, or demoralized because he wasn't attached to outward judgments and rewards. Belisarius and the Stoics teach us this profound lesson about the pitfalls of allowing our ego to rule our self-worth. When we invest our happiness and identity in the opinions, accolades, and rewards of others, we are setting ourselves up for perpetual disappointment and suffering. No level of worldly success, fame, or admiration can ever satisfy the ego's endless hunger for more. It is a bottomless pit that can never be filled. The ego always wants a little more money, acclaim, and status. And even when we attain these things, the ego quickly acclimates, feeling unsatisfied until the next hit of validation. This trap tangles many of us in needless anguish, anger, and ingratitude over the most minor perceived slights. When our sense of self-worth is dictated by external reinforcement, any criticism, setback, or lack of recognition can send us into an egotistical tailspin. The Stoics recognized that this investment of our inner peace in the hands of external events is the recipe for misery. We become emotionally held hostage at the mercy of factors utterly beyond our control. This is the antithesis of the self-mastery and freedom they sought to cultivate. Instead, Stoic philosophy urges us to extract our sense of self-worth and fulfillment from the radiance of our guiding virtues, to find sufficiency in simply conducting ourselves with excellence, effort, and integrity, regardless of the outcomes. As Epictetus said, "The cucumber is bitter? Then throw it out. There are brambles in the path. Then go around them. That is all that you have to do. Why complain?" The brambles of setbacks, criticism, and ingratitude from the world are inevitable. We cannot control if others recognize or reward our efforts. But like Belisarius, we always maintain autonomy over our values, principles, and responses to these events, choosing to ignore baseless criticism, doubling our efforts if we have fallen short, bearing our circumstances with humble forbearance. These things lie in our power. The Stoics called this the art of acquiescence, not resisting or raging against elements of our lives we cannot control, but accepting them with tranquility and aplomb. This does not mean we repudiate all preferential desires, but simply that we maintain a wise detachment from being overly delighted or disturbed by their attainment or privation. When our ego is free from the need for externals to fill some void within, we liberate ourselves to create from a purer place, unfettered by the heavy baggage of expectation and entitlement. We can dedicate our talents as a sincere gift to the world, no longer driven by credit-seeking motives. This was the unencumbered, egoless zone of Mushin that Japanese Zen masters sought, a state of no-mindedness where one acts spontaneously from their intrinsic nature, without cravings or mental impediments. Many artists and athletes tap into the mental plane of pure presence, creativity and performance during their moments of sublime flow. So, while the ego's call to desire praise, recognition and laurels is seductive, the Stoics remind us that it is a perpetual prison of restlessness and dissatisfaction. Their wisdom points to the life-giving oasis of self-sufficiency, where we find our happiness and wholeness never in attainments like money or accolades, but in aligning our actions and characters to our highest values and virtues. The story of Belisarius and his quiet nobility in the face of unexplainable ingratitude reveals a man utterly content with the knowledge of simply being and doing his best, indifferent to the storms of praise or censure. He was not attached to the unpredictable vicissitudes of fortune, for his self-respect sprung from an unshakable internal reservoir. In many ways, this Stoic detachment from external rewards and the world's judgment is one of the most personally liberating philosophies we can cultivate. It frees us to create, contribute, and act from a place of authenticity, utterly unconcerned with how it will be received. So we can remember Belisarius's example and turn inward to the still pool of sufficiency that lies untouched by the fickle winds of opinion and circumstance. In that case, we too can experience that profound peace and wholeness. We can free ourselves from the egoistic traps of anger, resentment and paralysis when overlooked or devalued, for we will recognize that no external achievement or reward could supersede the contentment that arises from simply being the best version of our essential selves. Focus on what you can control. The profound lesson from Belisarius and the Stoics is to focus solely on what is within our control and not be shaken by external events and circumstances beyond our influence. This is extremely difficult, but also incredibly liberating. Think about it. How much of our daily stress, anxiety and frustration comes from craving things we can't govern? We want validation from others. We expect success and rewards and desire specific outcomes that are not up to us. We get bent out of shape over traffic jams, someone's rude behavior and lousy weather ruining our plans. The Stoics would say this is insanity, tying our wholeness and well-being to factors outside our power. It's like pounding our head against a wall, wondering why it hurts. True sanity, they taught, comes from tying our sense of self-worth exclusively to our intentions, judgments, and efforts. Embracing this philosophy gives you an unshakable core confidence. You don't freak out over failures, setbacks, or critiques because these temporary external results don't form your identity. You keep doing the right things calmly, making the efforts you believe are virtuous and worthwhile, You stay centered on the eminently controllable, your principles and demonic will. Does this mean you'll never feel disappointment or frustration? Of course not. The Stoics were realists. Negative emotions are inevitable in an imperfect world. We all have preferences and feel those human pangs when things don't go our way. But you won't be thrown off course or give up. You recognize that some things are not under your control and accept that with equanimity rather than raging against it. Imagine if you approached your studies, work, passions and relationships with this grounded, unshakable mindset. Do not crave others' approval or success, but find fulfillment in simply showing up and doing your best daily in alignment with your virtues. What an immense burden that would remove. What a tremendous opportunity to experience inner peace and satisfaction. The ego is a cruel and insecure master that is never satisfied. Seeking worth from institutions, possessions, accomplishments, and people who cannot ultimately provide it is a losing game. You'll always be chasing that next hit of validation, terrified of the inevitable failures and setbacks. But your inherent human dignity and self-respect are yours to uphold. The choice is yours. You can make it unconditional, no longer dependent on externals. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it, and this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Like Belisarius, you can embody the unwavering virtue of a Stoic sage. You can rise above ingratitude, failures, and the whims of fickle fortune by basing your self-worth on your efforts and intentions. With this mindset, you soon realize that simply doing the work will always be enough. This path does require confronting some harsh truths. We have much more control than we do. If we accomplish some goal and gain particular possessions and status, we'll finally be worthy and complete. This is the ego hallucination we're all raised on. But the Stoics knew this was an illusion that would only breed perpetual disappointment, fear, and enslavement to forces outside ourselves. True freedom could only be attained by relinquishing that erroneous perspective, that chain of control to the exteriors. True wholeness could only blossom from the wise recognition of what was ours to govern. Epictetus said, "There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things beyond the power of our will." When we can finally make that shift from exterior to interior governance, we tap into a spiritual reservoir that is fundamentally inviolable. This isn't to say we become utterly non-preferential beings. The Stoics understood we'd naturally feel attracted to health, friendship, and accomplishment, and preferred indifference. But these things were never requisites or obstacles to our wholeness and tranquility. Not giving them that unhealthy attachment was the key. When we can embrace that distinction between what we can control, our thoughts, intentions, efforts, virtues, and what we cannot, we become extraordinarily resilient beings. Nothing in the world around us, no unpredictable setback or frustration, can genuinely unsettle our equanimity. Our peace and sense of self-respect are impervious. This is the priceless psychological fortitude the ancients cultivated. In good times or bad, they returned their focus to their judgments, choices, and intended behavior. While tsunamis of ungovernables swirled around them, they stood unperturbed. Their locus of identity never rooted to those ephemeral tides. If we apply this wisdom daily, we can avoid agonizing over failures or demanding the crowd's approval. The only opinion that governs our sense of wholeness and healthy self-esteem becomes our reasoned self-evaluation. Did I make my best effort today in alignment with my virtues? If the answer is yes, then the results are almost inconsequential. We showed up and embodied our highest codes. That's the sweet simplicity of the Stoic path. Excellence and tranquility found in the utterly achievable and accessible. The doing was the reward itself. In letting go of controlling what we cannot, we become unconquerable at our core. The petty insults, the triumphs or alterations of fortune lose their power as tyrants over our inner terrain. We regain sovereignty over the castle of ourselves. So when we face adversity, like Belisarius, we can allow the winds to howl, the disasters and ingratitudes to unfold, without that violence seeping into our souls and fracturing our wholeness. We withdraw from the battlefield's chaos into the imperturbable citadel, simply tending to intentional right action, serenity, and virtue. Perhaps counterintuitively, we gain more significant influence over our wider lives by focusing on governing our acre of responsibility. Our energy is no longer dissipated on the uncontrollable. We reclaim the power to shape our mindsets, our habits, and our environments in ways that produce inner flourishing. Marcus Aurelius spoke of this liberated state when he wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." The more laser focus we place on what we can control, our intentionality, integrity, and judgments, the more we author our live experiences from a place of wisdom and fortitude. So embrace the Stoic call to restrict your circle of concern to the realms of your influence. Let go of battling exteriors and clinging to outcomes. Do the work, love its inherent nobility, and find wholeness in the quality of the effort itself. For that is a place no external event has dominion over, save for your mistaken belief in its false sovereignty. In governing our realms with sagacity and virtues, we may come to author the most excellent authorship of all, a life of righteousness, resilience, and eudaimonic flourishing. Is there any more remarkable triumph possible? Doing the work is enough. With a Stoic mindset, you stop craving external rewards and learn that doing the work, showing up, making an effort, and upholding your principles and virtues is sufficient for a well-lived life. This is incredibly freeing and empowering. Think of all the good people who never got due credit in this world, the activists whose causes weren't won in their lifetimes, the leaders assassinated before completing their vision, and the artists ahead of their time whose work went ignored for decades. From society's main metrics, these people were not successful or rewarded for their efforts. But should they have never tried then? Should they have been apathetic, selfish, cruel, because their good deeds may not pay off? Of course not. The Stoics would argue that the reward was in the effort and intention. By doing their duty and upholding virtue, they stayed true to their highest selves. That was the point. That was the victory, not the inconsistent results and responses of the world. This mindset protects you from soul-crushing disappointments and bitterness. You stop demanding and expecting results, and instead take humble pride in your quality of labor, no matter the output. You focus on what you can control, your motivations, energy, and dedication to the task. Does this mean you'll never want recognition or feel accomplishment? No, those are natural human desires and there's nothing wrong with them. The key is not needing them for your sense of self-worth and wholeness. They become beautiful extras when they arrive, not requirements for your well-being. The Stoics called this concept archeia, allowing your inherent wisdom, judgment, and efforts to be enough for fulfillment, regardless of external rewards. It's detaching your self-respect from success metrics defined by society and rooting it in your ideals and virtuous actions. With this mindset, you'll be free to swing for the fences and take on audacious goals without fear of ego-bruising failure. You'll do the work because it's right, not because you must be celebrated. Your motivation becomes intrinsic, to live up to your principles and potential, not to please others. You'll find a quiet, uncomplicated contentment, knowing that simply doing your best each day according to your values will always be enough. That's true success, true freedom, true eudaimonia, that flourishing of virtue and excellence within that the ancient Stoics revered. Imagine your resilience in pursuing your most significant ambitions with this philosophy. How much fear, hesitation, and suffering would be removed from the path? The shackles of ego attachment, needing the world's permission and accolades, would be severed. You could undertake your journey unsullied by dreads of failure or rejection. That's the gift of the Stoic path, exemplified by the great Belisarius. He showed up daily for duty and service, battling with every fiber of his discipline, courage, and honor, regardless of whether he was adequately rewarded. The work was enough for him. So embody that spirit. Do the virtuous work and let go of the results. Keep being your highest self, no matter what occurs externally. That alone is what matters most. Doing the work is enough. This path liberates us from so many of the mental games and anguish we inflict upon ourselves. We stop living for the next accomplishment, the following status symbol, the next dose of recognition. Instead, we find sufficiency in simply mastering ourselves, facing each situation with the presence of mind, grit, compassion, and our guiding virtues. The Stoics knew nothing external could ever complete us or make us whole. That was a myth peddled by the ego and societal pressures. Instead, our sense of wholeness had to spring from within, from living with a unified character in harmony with our demon or highest self. So, the work indeed was the reward. The great effort in tackling any challenge with sagacity and morality was the actualization of human excellence. Viewing our lives this way allowed the Stoics to sidestep the pitfalls of entitlement, resentment, and pride, resulting from outcome dependency. Their example reminds us that the crowd's opinion is ultimately irrelevant noise. The approval and laurels of the world are so often fickle, transient, and beyond our locus of control. As Viktor Frankl wisely said, "Don't aim at success. The more you aim at it and make it a target, the more you are going to miss it. For success, like happiness, cannot be pursued. It must ensue. The only thing in our power is to conduct ourselves with the utmost virtue in each moment. To show up fully, do the work with mastery, and leave the results to fortune. If we can simp true to our intentions, values, and essential selves, then every action becomes a victory." This was the mentality of the Stoic sages and great souls, allowing them to endure the most withering storms unfazed. They took their succor solely from their character and moral excellence. These were attachments no person or event could ever tarnish or strip away. So, like Belisarius, we needn't rail against the unfairness of unrewarded toils. We emerge victorious simply by discharging our duty with honor and integrity. In doing so, we stay true to our highest codes and earn the only acclaim that genuinely matters: self-respect. The world's accolades and achievements may come and go. Still, when you make adherence to virtue and wisdom the sole metric for your sense of satisfaction, you become unconquerable, whole unto yourself, no longer imprisoned by circumstances beyond your influence. What a liberating and empowering way to move through life, unburdened by the constant needs of the ego. When the effort and diligent labor are enough for our souls, we gain ultimate freedom to act, create and engage fully without attachment to outcomes. For them, each process step becomes sanctified rather than a means to some end. By embracing the wisdom of Stoicism and doing the work for its own sake, we retake control of our happiness and wholeness. We reclaim our power from the ever-changing tides of fortune and public opinion, and in doing so, we learn to live as Marcus Aurelius prescribed, not in passion, but in reason and virtue, unconcerned with outward appearances, only intent to uphold our sacred duties and ideals. When we finally internalize this truth, that doing the work itself is always enough, we enter a state of profound personal freedom and serenity. No favor of fate or hostility of circumstance can then shake us from our center. Each day becomes a renewal of purpose, of acting with dignity and excellence for excellence's sake, unburdened by ego, fear, or hope for some fleeting recognition. Adopting that mentality makes us as indomitable and unconquerable as Belisarius himself. We transcend the human addiction to rewards and praise, and touch the eternal. For we have made virtue its reward, an inexhaustible wellspring sustaining us no matter how cruel or indifferent the world is. Embody the Stoic spirit. We started by learning about the incredible life of Belisarius. This great Byzantine general saved Western civilization multiple times through his brilliant military victories. Yet, instead of being celebrated, he faced ingratitude and injustice and was stripped of his well-earned honors and wealth. According to legend, he was even blinded and forced to beg for survival on the streets. While this treatment would embitter most people, fill them with resentment and cause them to despair, Belisarius displayed an unshakable inner strength. He didn't complain or grow resentful because his fulfillment came from simply doing his duty to the best of his ability, not the external rewards. Belisarius embodied the ancient Stoic philosophy of focusing solely on what is within our control, our intentions, efforts, and upholding our core values and virtues. The Stoics, like Belisarius, teach us that tying our sense of self-worth to factors outside our control, like success, status, beauty, or others' opinions, is a recipe for perpetual suffering and disappointment. Instead, we must root our identity in the inherent dignity of our judgments and actions, regardless of the eventual outcome or response from the world. Living in our modern society isn't effortless, which constantly tells us that our value comes from what we possess, achieve, or look. Marketing messages and cultural narratives reinforce this bankrupt ethos that we are what we own, what we've accomplished, and what others think of us. But the truth is, none of those temporary externals can provide genuine, lasting self-esteem and fulfillment if we are honest. But while this ancient Stoic path is arduous, traversing it is also the only way to cultivate unshakable core confidence and resilience that ego-based pursuits can never provide. It is the path of freedom, becoming unchained from the damaging prisons of validation, achievement, and image dependency. By practicing Stoic exercises and contemplations like negative visualization, gaining a cosmic perspective, reflecting on our judgments through evening meditations, and studying incredible examples like Belisarius, we can slowly start to embody and internalize this tremendous spiritual tradition in our modern lives. It's not about being apathetic, repressing our desires, or never wanting success, love, health, and appreciation. Those are natural human drives and acceptable preferential goals. It's about not needing them for our fundamental self-respect and contentment. It's about finding sufficiency and wholeness in doing the work with excellence each day, regardless of whether we are recognized. As the Stoics termed it, achieving the state of archeia where our inherent efforts and intentionality, according to virtuous principles, will always be enough. With this philosophy, you'll be free to pursue your most significant ambitions without the crippling fear of failure or rejection. You'll be able to endure setbacks, ingratitude, and humiliations with the same implacable spirit as Belisarius, saying to yourself, "This too I can bear with nobility, for my wholeness comes from the quality of my efforts and character, not externals. I am still myself." Your self-esteem and baseline of human dignity remain unperturbed, regardless of circumstances. In a world of constant struggle and chaos, where even our most extraordinary virtuous efforts often go unrecognized or actively punished, that unshakable Stoic mindset, anchored in humility and owning our controllable, is the most significant, intangible competitive weapon and source of motivation we could ask for. So, embody that timeless ancient wisdom exemplified by the indomitable spirit of Belisarius. Never cede ownership of your self-worth to the vicissitudes of fate, good or bad. Keep doing the work according to your values, let go of ego attachment to results beyond your influence, and know in your core that simply showing up fully, being present to your principles, and giving your very best will always be enough. Because if you can learn to root your sense of wholeness in your demonic intentionality, in your integrity, courage, wisdom, and self-discipline alone, then no ingratitude, no lapse of success, no injustice from the world can ever corrode your unassailable core of self-respect. You remain spiritually unconquerable, unbowed by the unpredictable tides of fate. That incredible strength doesn't come from the typical sources of power and success we're taught. It flows from this Stoic knowledge. Nothing external can ever determine your worth and dignity, not institutions, possessions, status, or the opinions of others. Those are all outside your control and fleeting as the wind. Your power comes from the still lake of your ownable virtues, principles, and judgments, which no one can govern save you. And when you grasp and live that truth with complete conviction, you become like Belisarius, a human monument to the supremacy of indefatigable character over circumstance. You transcend the ego's pitfalls and touch on the eternal. We cannot ultimately control the results of this life, nor guarantee we'll be validated or rewarded for our efforts as we may hope. But we can always master the priceless and inalienable sacred territory of our souls and values. And in so doing, we author a life of eudaimonic wholeness and Stoic spiritual freedom. So accept fortune's blows not with sadness or victimhood, but with the resilient tranquility of one still sovereign in their sphere of influence. Relinquish the ego's desperate attachments and walk the path of wisdom and virtuous effort each day. Make Epictetus's guidance your mantra. Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. When you commit to that Stoic maxim with total integrity, aligning your actions solely with your highest codes, you achieve the most significant victory possible, a life of unconquerable happiness, wholeness, and self-mastery regardless of exteriors. You cease being a powerless passenger on fate's ship and become its noble captain, steered by the steady stars of wisdom, justice, courage, and discipline alone. What greater gift could we ask for in this chaotic existence than to recover that locus of sovereign authority over our souls? To live and die with the quiet nobility and self-respect of Belisarius, untouched by the often ungrateful and uncomprehending vicissitudes of the world. So embrace the Stoic clarion call to restrict your circle of concern solely to that which you can genuinely govern. I love the inherent nobility of doing the work, no matter the outcome or reception. Find eudaimonia in that radiant inner space of integrity and effort. Following that compass trail marked by Belisarius, Aurelius, Epictetus, and the Stoic sages through the ages, we may ultimately author a life well lived and whole unto itself, humanity's most significant spiritual epic and heroic journey of self-actualization,